Yeah, I
You
was
know
on
what
a
that means,
webinar.
right?
I actually, according to my clock, I'm exactly on time, but
Uh,
I'm usually 5 minutes early.
so let's hear a song. What's it going to be?
It's gonna be "You Are My Sunshine, My
No.
Only."
Okay, good. Thank you for
Good
stopping.
answer.
By the way, I am recording.
Oh, and you are my sunshine. So,
Oh, wow. How did you get you? That's very quick on your feet. I'm impressed. So listen, welcome to Powerhouse Talk. We are going to cover a lot of great topics as we do every single week, and a lot of these topics are going to be very controversial this week. The one in particular that I'm really looking forward to is the third topic, where we're going to talk about big teams. Do they actually equal big profits? And that's something a lot of you are going to, I think, really have your minds blown when you hear the realities of big teams. And we have people who have had big teams on this podcast or building big teams. So you're going to get a real drill down on the truth behind really, bottom line is, are they profitable or not? But there are two types of agents in this market right now: the ones that are taking control of the future and the ones that are pushed out of it. AI has already decided which agents consumers trust before they even reach out. The join a big team now and you'll make more money story is starting to collapse under its own weight. And the agents who are winning today aren't waiting for the market to improve. They're making three moves right now that are changing their income, their confidence, and their trajectory before the year is over. If this industry feels different lately, it's because it truly is. This isn't a shift, it's a separation. And today we're showing you exactly which side you're on. All right, let's roll in. Is it Chewy or is it Hooey? And this is where we talk about real estate headlines that caught our interest. And Julie Harris, you can go first.
Well, this is a simple one that was just being posted and reposted everywhere. And it was just one headline that said something to this degree: market's crashing because there's 1 in 5 homes on the market being reduced. Okay. Now, here's how I would translate that. In any market, we range between 21 and 33% of active listings have to have at least one price reduction before they sell in any type of market. That's why there's a little bit of a range, 21 to 33%. So if the headline is that only 1 in 5 is being reduced, that means 2 out of 5 didn't have to reduce. That's great news. So that's how I translated it.
In
I,
other
I call
words,
the headline hooey.
okay, headline was hooey. Okay, I think I would concur with Julie on that one. All right, Dan Lesniak, what is your headline or hooey, or rather chewy or hooey story for this week?
So a broker in Florida, and I picked this one because we actually talked about this last week, what we would do in the situation. All right, if you signed a buyer broker agreement and they bought somewhere else without you, what would you do? Well, this buyer did that, and Florida broker took him to arbitration. It was arbitration, and the arbitration made a $24,000 award to the broker owner. Um, that the buyer now has to pay. Who knows if he'll actually collect, right? Who knows how much arbitration cost? But yeah, I think that one's a little chewy, I guess.
So the court arbitration, not like a real arbitration, right? And so then the essentially the buyer who went around the buyer agency agreement was effectively found to be responsible for paying the 24 grand. But even that, with that happening, now the buyer, or I'm sorry, the agent still has to figure out how to collect the money. They don't just automatically get it. It's not like a video game.
Right. They'll have to, they can put a judgment on his credit report and all that, but collecting it is a whole nother
Well, it's because
proposition.
where does it go from there? You're gonna have attorneys. We're only sharing this information so you guys make your, decide when it comes to legal stuff. It's never as clean as you think it should be, because now they're gonna have to hire an attorney. They're gonna have to try to maybe sell the debt, send it to collections, and by the time that the agent actually makes any money, that $24,000 is whittled down to 2,400 bucks. You don't know. So keep all these things in mind before you decide to get
But still a
litigious.
chewy topic because it sets some kind of a precedent that that's how they found. And who knows what legs that'll get.
No, I
It'll be
agree. I agree 100%.
Also, you go back to it matters who your brokerage is, because I feel like from an legal standpoint, if that's something that's happening to you, I feel like at least EXP, I've seen them come out swinging for our agents and situations like that to back them from a legal standpoint. So I also think it's really important for you to know who's backing you.
No, 100%. Great points. Heller, you are next for, is it Chewy or is it Huey?
True or Huey? I think and maybe I just got off a conference call with some industry people about um, the Compass dropping their lawsuit, them aligning with Rocket and Redfin, and then Keller Williams, Remax, and others aligning with Zillow um, for to be able to pre-market listings. So I think what's putting all the lawsuit stuff aside and everything else and who's on what side, um, we're now entering, a new era where most consumers always suspected that there could be different inventory on different sites. That's why they always, shopped multiple portals. But the fact is that they rarely found something on one site that they didn't on others. If it was, it's probably just a timing issue. Something showed up an hour earlier on one site than another. But over time, they will now start to see evidence that there are things on one site that aren't on another site. And that's going to cause them to have less trust in that site and to shop in other places. And and if you keep playing that out, if I, as a consumer, finally find the home I want to see and it's on, whatever site it is, um, that's the side I'm going to keep going back to. Now I may be misinformed and by going back only to that one site, I may be missing a lot of other opportunities, or I may not. I may continue to have to shop a bunch of sites. But it's just going to be a new process for consumers that will have, downstream ramifications for brokerages and agents. For agents, not so much. I mean, um, if we're sitting across the table from a seller, we still have to have a strong value proposition, and our value proposition might include our three-phase or two-phase or four-phase marketing plan. Uh, for buyers and buyers agents, it's going to create more friction. It's just going to create
Let me
more
ask you a
challenges.
question. And Dan, I'm going to ask you this question, and you're not prepared for it, but I bet you and I are sharing a hive mind right now. In the age of AI, do the portals matter, or will people just use AI to effectively scrape the results that they're after and then set up what amounts to, using old terminology, AI auto search to start feeding the newest information from all the sites to them automatically? Does this, big hooey or, thing matter or not?
Yeah, I think you'll be able to easily build something out on Claude. I started to like a week or two ago on ChatGPT build something that could scrape like a certain brokerages off markets, and it was going to require like another 5 or 10 minutes, and I got distracted, didn't finish it. But I think it would be very easy right now to build something out that would scrape everything and probably be quicker than using the MLS, to be honest.
Or going to a website, or waiting for the email with the newest listings to show up, because the AI could just basically tap you on the shoulder and say, well, maybe physically tap you on the shoulder when the robot's starting to show up, right? And say, listen, there's a new listing you need to be aware of. And it won't even tell you what website it was found on. It'll just feed you the information. So I'm just wondering what real power these portals are going to have over consumers.
I think they're still going to have the power. I mean, if I go to Claude or ChatGPT and I want to find the best e-bike, I'm still then ultimately going to end up on a site, whether it's Amazon to see if it's cheaper there, or the manufacturer site, or REI, or wherever I'm going to end up. I think it just creates it. Think of it as Amazon's a good example. We go to Amazon because we can get whatever we want there. If we start to find out that we can't, and we have to also go to Walmart.com or Target.com or others, it's not that we won't do it. It's just more annoying, right? It's just more friction and takes more time.
I do
Anyone have-
believe that both, not only portals and search, I believe both are going away. These AI systems are becoming so advanced, so quick, that the interaction between the user and the AI machine, whether you call it ChatGPT or especially OpenCloud, are becoming so knowledgeable about the user that, again, it's even before you ask the question, they will come to you and say, listen, I know you were looking for these 2 or 3 properties. I just found this. And they're just not going to even mention where they're coming from. So not only the portals, but search, it's just something that's going to be ultimately not in use within the next 24 months at that fast.
Casey, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that number one, I love that Dan, you prompted Chat or Claude to scrub those different sites and just to kind of see from a competition standpoint of where they're listing and where they're actually getting the exposure. I also, it's causing me to actually pivot and think about how excited I am with Leo and EXP partnering with Homes.com and Google, because I think in my ADHD brain, it's causing me to think about, well, who are we integrated with? What's that trajectory look like? And how is it going to benefit us, our team as a whole, and our clients? And I feel like very excited about that. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's causing me to like drift off and think about those opportunities and what that's going to look like. And is it going to benefit us? Like, is it actually going to cause value, or is it all just the hoopla of everything going on, in our world right now? But that's what I'm honestly thinking about.
That would have been a
But
good, that by itself would have been a good chewy or hooey, right? Or all these little exclusive, but you had another good chewy or hooey. I saw
I
you
do.
typing it. Please share
So
it.
separately, the one thing that I was just shocked, not even shocked, because we're living it day in and day out from a
Lennox, right? So we're talking about
is the US housing market just hit like an all-time record of an imbalance from the seller to buyer ratio. So we have 46.3% more sellers than we do buyers. And as much as we all know we're in a buyer's market, I don't feel like we focus on the percentage and the stats of it. At least I'm busy, we're all busy, we're in production, we're selling, we're not really focused on the actual number. So seeing those numbers on paper come out, and then just so you guys understand the exact number, hold on, I'll pull it up. I just had it. 629,000, almost 630,000 more sellers. So just to put in perspective. So across the nation, you have 630,000 more sellers than you do buyers. That's crazy, right? I mean, have we ever seen numbers like that?
Yes.
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 No,
That's
we've
called
seen
a
much,
real
we've
market,
seen much.
Casey. Yeah.
Okay,
Casey.
so for those
No, but
agents that are
Casey,
like babies
Casey,
like me,
Casey, let us answer you, okay? Because don't be fearful of this, because this is how it's always freaking been since the Stone Ages. You just come up during a time where it hasn't been like that, but it's going to go back to that. And Julie's doing some homework on this. And I love the fact that you brought this up, because it was a bunch of hype. And anyone who's only been in the business for like the past 15 years, really 10 years, they don't know this is called a blessing. When you have a market, because that means your average days in the market's going to push out to maybe 4 months or 6 months, which means it's going to give listing agents a hell of a lot more time to lead generate, which means it's going to give buyers more choices, which means the market's going to, find its equilibrium using market forces. But Julie's got some actual numbers.
Just quickly, a seller's market is defined as 0 to 4 months of inventory. Multiple offers are common. Sellers have the leverage. Balanced market, and this is mostly NAR, but a whole bunch of other sources, is 5 to 6 months of inventory. This is a roughly equal supply. A buyer's market usually is 7+ months of inventory. That's where you do have more homes for sale than buyers. Let's see. As far as an actual ratio, every market's a little bit different on those numbers, but go ahead.
Okay, so you just gave it. So using what Casey was just saying, because Casey, I really truly appreciate you bringing this up. So how many months of supply do we have nationally, given the absorption rate? Can you just ask AI that?
I will. It varies regionally by quite a bit. Texas and Florida are still leading by a lot, but I will get you some regional.
Let's do Florida. Let's do Florida, because that's where Casey and Orlando are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, tie this in here. This is my other thing that I want you to do, Julie.
Yeah.
We also apparently have hit the highest percentage of canceled contract because buyers are negotiating and they want what they want. So they'd rather cancel it and rather than like give the seller what they want. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I saw that too.
But Casey, when you're very entrepreneurial, so when you hear a stat like that, and I'm asking for the sake of all the people listening, where's your mind go when you hear what you just said?
Well, my first thought is, well, shame on the agents for not being able to collectively bring their seller and their buyer across the finish line and come up with some winning solution. Because in my brain, I feel like that's a failure for us as agents. Canceled contracts are not ideal. But, you know, I think people need to be more creative and not lose their message in the delivery, because that's another thing that I think I'm seeing sellers and buyers butt heads, because it's the communication between the agents and they're not being solution based and creative to come up with a winning strategy.
Well,
So
so
I
what I
think
heard,
there's,
go ahead, Chris, sorry.
I was going to say, I think there's, so yes, creativity and solution, focus on solutions is key. I think equally and maybe even more important is setting different and better expectations up front.
With the seller and the buyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
It's sales skills. That's what Chris is getting to. Sorry, Chris. Orlando, you didn't contribute to Chewy or Hooey. Do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
With that one. Well, let's continue. I have something, but we'll continue. I like this AI topic we were talking about, and the expectation is what I teach all my agents. The right expectations set you for failure or for success. It's not about the result; it's the expectation, right?
Okay,
Warren
but
Buffett had an amazing phrase. He said, "If you want a very successful marriage, lower your expectations." So
Nice.
anyway,
yeah,
so
but
listen,
that's
I'm
of
gonna tell
the
you my
outcome, not of the person,
announcement.
of the outcome, not of the person. And again, the right expectations are key for absolutely everything.
but can we tell them why?
Nugget though, expectations, what Orlando just said. If you want an easier marriage or an easier relationship with anybody in your life, it's verbalizing your expectations, not having lower.
That's true too. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, yeah,
But
good.
That's
can we
fair.
tell everyone why you actually didn't do the Chewy or Hooey segment? Because you did.
Absolutely. Yes, go ahead. No, I'll tell him. I just because of my limited English, I don't know what one or the other means. So it's just I pass on
I
this
didn't
one.
translate.
He didn't know what Chewy or Hooey meant. Yeah.
I didn't
I
either.
had no clue. No clue.
All right. Well, Hooey is like an ancient term. Julie got it from her grandfather, her great grandfather. So there you go. All right,
It's
moving on.
It's like it means trash, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How did they not know what Hooey means, Julie? Anyway, segment 2, real
That's
estate
the people
singular.
you see. Those are your friends, Tim. You gotta level up, you know.
You're right. Segment 2, real estate singularity. This week in real estate AI. What happened? What is happening now in AI and how it affects you? And Elon said this, and this was I can't let this go because Chris said that there's going to be mass layoffs and fewer agents, so I can never let this go, especially since I agitated him on the last podcast over this topic. But Elon said, I brought in the big firepower this week for you, Mr. Heller. Elon said that the output per agent, I added the per agent thing. The output per person with AI will be 10x versus those who think there'll be mass job loss. Who is right? In other words, mass layoffs, job creation, or job destruction. And Chris has to go last. Dan, go ahead.
I think it's going to be a huge opportunity. Elon has also said it's going to make productivity so high that everybody will have a luxury lifestyle, right? So it's opportunity. And you could have 100 years ago, you could have said the same thing about the tractor. Like the tractor put so many farm laborers out of work. But guess what? America is more productive now. People live better. So I think it's going to be a massive opportunity. And I think there's going to be more agents, not less.
So we're coming into an age of mass abundance because of why? Be specific. And I know Orlando's listening to some of the same things I am. So this is a great topic.
Yeah, lower cost of productivity. I mean, hopefully we can see it in home building, right? Hopefully we can get permits like Jeff Bezos wants approved in one day because we have AI reviewing the plans and not overpaid, bureaucrats that have been in their permitting job for 30 years. So I think, and then the cost of building the houses could come down dramatically because of AI. So I think it's nothing but good news. We should all be excited.
And even beyond that, the lower cost of just the food production, the production of tennis shoes, tables, baseballs, doesn't matter because effectively those things will become less. But Chris's thesis, and it's hard to argue against it if you look at it from one level, is that that's going to create massive job loss. Orlando, what do you think?
Well, interesting. I just share with you, go to your text message if you want to share it here with the audience. Great. If not, for later. Two things. Elon was saying this, that the only limitation is how fast we can produce those robots, right? That's pretty much it, because they will be able to do pretty much everything, not immediately, but within a reasonable time, 5 to 7 years, 5 to 10 years. That's extremely quick. So to me, again, and if you see, I show you this screenshot, the adoption of Facebook, which is one of the companies that has grown the most, and the adoption. Look at the adoption of
It's pretty clear.
it's like it's just it's vertical, like from one day to the other, and to experience what that thing can do, it's just unbelievable. It makes ChatGPT obsolete. It's like a technology from the 1800s. It's so fast. It gets to know you so quick, and it thinks so ahead of what you are going to ask, that the advantage for the people that use it and the disadvantage for the people that are not using it, it's mind-boggling. It's the gap is tremendous, and it's just going to advance faster and faster.
Julie,
So-
what do you think? Is Elon right or wrong? Right or wrong? Is Elon right or is Chris Heller right? I'm doing my best, Chris.
I wouldn't want to bet against either of those fellas.
Oh,
but-
that's nice.
That's Julie, you see?
My money's on Chris.
Your money's on Chris.
Hey, Casey.
I think there will be temporary job loss, of course. I mean, we're hearing headlines about that already. But then I think that the surge in creativity and maybe a new enlightenment will very quickly happen, at least for people that are paying attention. And maybe there is going to be this huge gap, like Dan was talking about. There's going to be a big disparity between people who have adopted this and not. But at the same time, I think there's also all these examples of the advantage of having waited to even use any of this. Look at the what was the Moonshots guys was talking about, how you had to put your agents on Apple Minis like 2 weeks ago, and now we're hearing that you put it on Amazon and you don't have to mess around with the Apple Minis. Well, what did that take? That much time? How many people went out and populated their home office with Apple Minis, and now what's going to happen to those? So I think there's also this weird thing we haven't seen, which is an advantage to waiting and things getting better and better and better, and then inserting yourself into that process. So I would vote too soon to tell on how it will all pan out, but it's certainly a historical point in time.
What do you mean by the new age of enlightenment? What do you mean by, like,
Well, the
Give us a
amount of
histor-
creativity.
Jules,
Go ahead.
give us a historical period. When did the first age of enlightenment come about? Do you remember?
Well, I mean, it's many people would argue it started with the printing press in
After the-
1440,
after the
because
plague,
now
right?
everybody could read, and it wasn't a luxury thing to be able to have a book. So now, anyway, I could nerd out, but that's basically it. And then you had all the scientific discoveries in art and music. And, you were sending me a message after the Black Plague when we were all in the Dark Ages and 30% of the population of Europe died. There wasn't a whole lot of creativity when you were just trying not to catch the plague. And then after that, everything, I mean, look at all of the things from the Renaissance. And when we go to Europe and you go to all those museums, that was an example of that age of enlightenment. Lots of medicine got invented, all of that sort of thing. And, one of the things they're talking about is, what are they calling it? A science factory, or different science factories that AI is running. So this AI is in charge of curing cancer, and this AI is getting rid of this other disease. And this one is in charge of discovering all new different things. And the speed in which that's happening will make us all think bigger. Aren't we already?
Yeah, well, that's what
we
we're
are.
trying to do on this show. By the way, for those of you who are to think really big and you're ready to move up in your brokerage and life experience and joining us at eXp Realty, we've made it. Come on, transition. I get a good applause for that transition. That was really good.
That was good.
Yeah, thank you.
I
It wasn't
inadvertently
that
teed you up.
smooth.
Well, that's pretty good.
And by the way, okay, go continue
Well,
with your transition.
yeah, exactly. The links are down below, and you can interview any of us to be your sponsor at eXp Realty. And we've made it super easy for you. When you click the links below, there's videos to watch to learn about all the things that you get in addition to what eXp offers when you align with us at eXp. The name of our group is called Libertas. Libertas means freedom in Latin. So after all, many of you, if you really, drill down, you're wanting to work to the point where you have financial freedom. Well, so are we. And that is what our group is focused on, getting us all to the point where our money is working for us so we no longer have to work for our money. So when you're ready to step up your brokerage experience, either if you're an individual agent, a team, or a brokerage, let's go. The links are down below. And we've also included everyone's cell phone number. If you're ready to join now, you're already have made your decision and you want one of us to be your sponsor, just text us directly and we'll help you get the application in. Where someone want to jump in. Oh, the other thing, newsletter, make sure you're subscribed to fullthrottletalk.com. If you love the
Not
conversation,
full throttle talk.
Full throttle.
sorry.
Well,
other
yes,
podcasts.
but also
PowerHouseTalk.com. Thank you, Julie and Dan. Yes, if you like the conversation and the banter from the podcast, you'll love the articles that we're writing for PowerHouse.com. All right, so Dan, I'm curious, how many of those Apple Minis did you buy, and you should have waited a week?
I didn't get any. However, I I think if you did go out and get it, and you learned something that was harder, right? Because you had to know a little bit more about programming than using like Claude. So I don't think it's like that big of a setback, right? If you went out and did that, you probably got more advanced, more comfortable. So, probably will help you accelerate even more as it gets easier and easier.
So, Chris, your turn. Now that we've all said our piece, are you changing your tune that there'll be more agents or fewer agents?
No, I'm not changing my tune. And I don't view it as a bad thing either, right? Like I think it's actually a good thing. But you said something at the very beginning that I just that isn't congruent, and that is that we all agree that AI will increase productivity. And whether it's 10x or 8x or 15x, whatever it is, you can't have dramatic increases in productivity without job losses. Like if I have a factory and I make widgets and I'm able to produce 10 times as many with less because of AI, with less people or less process or anything else, that's going to eliminate jobs. Um, there's there's just less people needed. People will be doing more things on their own. That will require them to, in the past, they were getting help. They were hiring people to do those things. It's where it's, the horses, I think, is already out of the barn. People just don't know it yet.
So summarize what you're saying so I'm clear. What you just said. You said mass improvement in production has created mass job losses.
Will lead to that.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Well,
Okay, can you give me
you do whether you ask me permission or not, but yes, thanks for asking permission.
No, in real life, when you and I are talking, I'm much nicer. I'm trying to provide value, right? So with regards to, can you give an example of where that's happened historically? So if we go back to maybe the Industrial Revolution, we go back to different stages of, call it quantum leaps forward in the production of things, just to try to keep it somewhat focused. Can you give me an example where what you said has been true?
Yeah, it's happened in manufacturing, in the Industrial Revolution, even in the when Tesla started, the Tesla factories have a fraction of the amount of humans that any other car factory has, right? Because of the use of robotics and AI. So now I'm not saying that won't also create
a fraction compared to what?
To like a traditional automobile manufacturer factory.
I could challenge you on that, but I won't, out of love and respect.
Yeah, we have to not count Ferrari in that.
No, but all of them, even Ferrari, the cars are complete. Everything's basically being made by robots nowadays, including interiors.
Okay,
literally
everything. Are there more humans in those factories now, or less humans than before?
Okay, so let me give you. Okay, when you were using Tesla as an example, so otherwise I'm going to nerd out on car stuff, and everyone will get super bored. When Tesla built their facility to make cars was largely designed around the use of robots, just like everybody else on planet Earth when they're going to make anything nowadays, especially cars. But what Tesla did is what Elon did is he essentially created whole new industries that didn't exist before. And the list is incredibly long because of the fact that he was mass producing electric cars. Yes, the electric cars didn't need someone bolting in the seat anymore or bolting on the wheels and tires, but that same person was then able to get another job doing something else.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, and that's what I was about to say, that and Dan said it, there'll be more opportunities. Other things will be created, but I think the net will be fewer jobs. And if we go back to just our industry, we have always had more agents than we need. All right. If we look at the total number of transactions, 8 million sides, um, and arguably somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million real estate agents running around out there. That makes for extremely low opportunities and overall low productivity numbers. You don't need 1.5 to 2 million agents to represent 8 million sides.
Well, if you see an increase in production, which inevitably we will because of demographics in the United States, there'll be more sides and an increase also in building of homes, right? There'll be more need. And furthermore, Chris, I'll suggest that what people are going to demand is agents to deliver a more personalized, one-on-one type relationship. Consumers will, thus creating even more demand for agents.
Because more demand for good agents, more demand for skilled agents, not more demand for the number of agents.
No, that's true for sure.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting point. I've been working on thinking about if the transaction itself becomes far easier. So you don't have to wait 30 to 45 days to do all the paperwork because you're waiting on somebody to open the file that's sitting on their desk or in their computer. And the ease of the transaction is better. Can more normal average agents do a higher volume of sales while at the same time they're building more houses to sell and we have more inventory? Maybe there's somewhere in between is the answer. I don't know. I'm working on that thought.
The only
But
way
I-
that there,
Yeah.
the only way there'd be a fall of an agents, Chris, is if there was a huge precipitous fall in demand for agents. Dan, what are you thinking?
Well, I think the demand for agents has been steadily increasing. If you look at the FSBO data, that's kind of interesting to me. Because if you go back to the 1980s, it was about 20% of homes were sold by FSBO. And back then, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have syndication. Photography was, you had to get photos like developed in a lab, right? So what has happened to that number as it's gotten way, way, way easier to like take pictures, syndicate, market? We had like a record low percentage wise of homes that were sold by FSBO last year, like 5%.
Yeah, but I think we're conflating the value of agents and the demand for the number of agents.
I'm just talking number of agents. That's it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
how
I
many,
think you're right,
Chris, how many brokerages basically pay their damn bills off monthly fees that agents pay, whether they sell a house or not?
Well, fewer and fewer.
Yeah, I know, but still it's staggering if you think about
But
it.
it's important to make this distinction. I don't think the number of agents it's going to go down because of the barrier to entry. It's so easy to get a real estate license. However, I do agree 100% with Chris is the demand for agents. So it doesn't really matter if I have a license if I'm not making any money, right? So is it worth it, right?
And to be clear, the reason I'm saying the number of agents will go down because there will be fewer agents making money in real estate. Right? The shift will continue to where the gap between the haves and have-nots in the real estate industry will get wider and wider. We've seen that's been happening for a long time, and it's going to accelerate with all the things that are happening and most around technology.
Casey, Julie, guys got anything on this? I like how Chris is holding his ground, by the way. I respect that.
Yeah, me too. No, I think it's too soon to tell. It's exciting times.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that we're all tainted by our own outlooks, because everybody on this podcast is a motivated sort. So it's kind of hard for us to think differently, And I think we're all positive thinkers too. We all want the best for agents. That's part of why we all know each other.
I'm going to go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, and
Sorry, Julie.
Absolutely, Julie. And I think I read an article a couple weeks ago, and our leadership team all shared the article. It was about how software companies are and will get crushed by AI. And I said to our team, rather than debate whether it's true or not, going to happen or not, is happening or not, let's act as if that's the case, what do we need to do to win? And for an agent listening out here, we're not asking you to choose sides on who's right or wrong, because it doesn't really matter. And no one really knows. But my suggestion would be act as if there are going to be fewer agents, if it's going to be harder to make a good income in real estate, what do you need to be doing now to make sure that you're one of the ones that are taking advantage of this versus one of the ones being left behind? You know, who do you need to align with? What do you need to be changing? What do you need to be doing? What do you need to be focused on? Those are the questions that I want people watching and
I
listening
love
to be
that,
asking
Chris.
themselves.
Yeah, but that cuts through the bullshit, right? I mean, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's hoping for the best, but being prepared for the worst, and that's really good strategic business thinking. I guess that's why your handle on Insta is Chris Heller CEO. I think it's easy to your point about there being, fewer jobs. There'll be fewer of the types of jobs that people have now. That I think is true, but there'll be new roles for those humans to be, taking advantage of going forward. And as far as this concept of we're entering into this age of abundance and luxury, where essentially there's going to be so this stuff. It's like Star Trek. You guys remember on Star Trek where, the food just kind of appeared out of the wall, where you just had
Yeah.
instant access to everything. I mean, that's kind of where these, science fiction optimists are leaning into. So
Hey, we should open up a business or a franchise for customizing humanoids. Yeah, we do custom paint jobs, custom decorations, custom
they're going to do
outfits.
that. So
Yeah,
your Elon robots that are supposed to show up at the end of the year, people are already doing. It's so funny you should say that. They're already creating clothes for the damn things, and they're going to create the fashion designers are going to. Case is going to like this. Fashion designers are going to create clothes for your freaking robots, and that's how people are going to differentiate their robots from the other guy's robots because theirs is wearing Gucci and Chris's is wearing stuff from Target. I mean, that's
yeah.
how it's going.
I guarantee you, Casey's humanoid will be more stylish than mine.
It'll
Mine's
have
gonna be naked. I'm not spending money on clothes for it.
My EXP avatar in EXP world is like a samurai with two swords coming out. So I don't know, like I'm girly, but remember, I also have like my green Lamborghini right here. So like I know you're Ferrari, it's okay, but um you'd be surprised. Like yes, Gucci, yes, Louis, but remember, I'd rather have like pimped out rims for my Escalade or samurai
So
swords.
how are you going to pimp out your robot? It's going to be a 6 foot, like probably a 5.5 foot tall robot. He's going to be able to do everything for you. I mean, have you got to start thinking this is going to
I need
be
to be really careful with what I want to say right now.
okay, then don't. And this will be a powerhouse talk topic in about 6 months. Basically, real estate, branded. Oh, Casey, it was your idea last week that they're going to have branding on the robo taxis. So why the hell wouldn't people have branding on their freaking robots when the robot gets sent to the grocery store? It's going to be walking around advertising the Casey Anderson team. I mean, it's pretty funny if you think about it. Yeah, you know what? You're going to send that damn thing out to the nearest street corner and it's going to sign spin for you.
Yeah, and I'm going to program it where I can have eyes through it at any time, like a camera. So the people
Yes.
that are like impressed with it and interacting with it, I'm going to talk to the people that are interacting and commenting on it and telling them that they should sell their house to me.
There you go. All right. Are we ready to move on to
A
the next?
robot door knocker. Now we're talking.
That's smart.
Are we ready to move on to the next topic? Are we good? Okay. So this is something that I think I'm really looking forward because this is such a opaque topic amongst 99% of all the agents in the industry. They assume big teams, big transactional volume, big dollar volume equals big net profit. And I really want to rip this to shreds so that we can be the only podcast that's actually telling the truth about all of this, whatever your version of the truth is. Dan Lesniak, and I'm going to choose you first because you and your beautiful wife, Carrie, have arguably one of the largest, most successful teams in the history of real estate. You guys do. I mean, you guys did, I don't even, how many billions of dollars and how many transactions? It's insane. Like over 10,000 transactions. The numbers you guys pull are incredible. And you're not Zillow Flex agents. It's worth mentioning.
No.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, Dan, and then use your big brain and let's go.
Yeah, I think most big real estate teams are very, very lean on terms of their profit margin, like single digit percentage. I think there's a lot of agents out there that could sell 25 to 50 homes a year with minimal support, minimal overhead, and probably outproduce in terms of profit teams that are selling 200, 300, even 1,000 homes a year. most big teams, I think, the profit from the core real estate business is really um, a loss leader for other big business opportunities, whether that's title, mortgage, insurance, revenue share group, coaching. All right. So if you're a real estate agent, you're looking to like potentially emulate that model, it's going to be really, really difficult unless you have other ways to monetize that volume and that attention.
So you're
And
saying basically cranking out buyer sides, becoming maybe buying buyer leads from a portal like Zillow or whatever. You will do more volume. You will do everything at a higher level, and everyone will think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But the profit off those transactions, and you and I have had these conversations before with people that are joining with us at EXP, that it's sometimes negative. They're losing money on those buyer sides, and agents just don't even realize that. No one tells them that, right? And what I heard you say is they're taking what would have been their profit source, which is on the listing side, and they're using that profit to subsidize the buyer side. And in some cases, that itself still isn't profitable. So now they're having to lean into ancillary sources of revenue, be it mortgage, title, or revenue share. Did I just summarize?
yeah, and those can produce, huge, huge numbers for them. So
Sure.
I'm not knocking it or criticizing it. Um, I know one example, and I'll be very vague 'cause I don't want to give anything away, but 1,000 homes sold, team supposedly makes 400K or less of profit. Um, that could easily go that much negative with just like 1, 2, 3 degrees of change in anything.
Without mentioning names, and Chris, this team is in your market, by the way. Without mentioning any names, how did you find out that information?
Sources very close to it in a mastermind,
Okay.
multiple different ones.
Okay. Julie, what are you thinking? Thank you, Dan. Julie, what are you thinking?
I think you have to know your math because that's an extremely slim margin. All you have to do is have the market change on you. Your listing inventory turns into a bunch of expireds, which could certainly happen with what we talked about earlier in the podcast. But I want to give some very specific math. So let's just say, hypothetically, that an agent has, or a team leader, or even a broker, but that somebody has a goal of of netting $500,000. Good goal, right? You're gonna have a pretty decent lifestyle making that. So if you are, let's say scenario one, a solo agent, and let's say each of these agents, we're gonna have agent A and agent B. Agent A, the solo agent, has the same average sale price. Let's call it $500,000. That's not too far off of the national average. And we're going to use, just to use a number, an average commission of 2.5%. Each agent wants to net 500,000. The solo agent has to do 40 transactions at 12.5 a piece, right? So scenario two, let's just say that that's a team leader that's paying Zillow their new 40%. I've heard as high as 45%, but let's just say 40% because I know of several people that are doing this. Okay. How many, using the same parameters of a $500,000 average 12.5 commission, Zillow takes 40%, and you split 50-50 with your buyer agent team. That team leader, to make that same 500,000, has to crank 133 deals. That's if everything else is running smoothly. And I'm also not factoring in at 133 deals. They're also going to have 1 or 2 transaction coordinators at, say, at least 50 grand a piece. So it's actually worse than this on their net. They probably have to do more like 150 sides to pay for the additional infrastructure to support 133 sides. And I didn't spin the math out past that because there's all the other things that happen. But who would you rather be? An agent that's doing 40 deals with 1 transaction coordinator? And think about what it would take to support that. You probably have to have 10 listings at all times. Some markets, maybe only 5, have some other sources set up. Maybe you're working with a builder versus an agent that has the pressure of feeding their team enough transactions and enough leads to crank at least 130 to 150 deals just so they can net 500 grand.
So what you're saying is that basically everyone's sort of playing at the same, or not everyone's playing the same game, right?
Exactly. I again, like Dan, I have coaching clients that are cranking deals at that level, okay, that have teams, and they're doing great, but they know the game that they're playing. They know their numbers, and we watch it closely, and we see. I'll give you an example: a team that has to do 300 plus sides, They used to be able to do that on about 15 active listings when the market was hot. Do you know how many listings they have to carry now? Almost 60 to do the same business. So you better know your numbers because the margin is slim if you screw it up. And you can't be asleep at the wheel for even a quarter at a time.
It'll eat you alive. Heller, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. It's and Dan, gave an example, but we see that every day. We have 450 plus teams who, we do their financials for them on a monthly basis. We have, uh, 100 teams that'll join us this year, and to get 100 teams to join us, we'll talk with close to 1,000 teams, and part of those discussions are going through financials. So it's very common for the large teams, for the owner of the large team to be retaining single digit, as Dan said, um, percentage of profits. Now, some of those are still in production, so they're making commissions on deals they're doing and flips or whatever they're also doing. But it's getting increasingly hard, just like it's getting increasingly more difficult for brokerages to be profitable. The same thing is happening to teams. The teams have some inherent advantages over brokerages, and they're still very good teams, and we see it, and we have hundreds of ones that we're partnered with that are crushing it. But it's
All we're
it's
trying to do
not
is
bigger is not always better or more profitable.
And it depends, exactly, more profitable. And all we're trying to do is basically make it so that people are eyes wide open when they're choosing which game they're going to play at. If it's the profit game, it's probably not the path that you are being fed to believe will get you there. Orlando, what are you thinking?
Let me explain it in a very simple way for the audience. That you mentioned big profits, right? It's not usually big profits, it's big complexity. And the bigger the complexity, the bigger the expenses, right? So people think, oh, $100 million in sales equals to a 3%, $3 million in income. That's great, $3 million. But they're not accounting the cost per lead. You mentioned Zillow, up to 45% split, right? So that's the cost of the lead, then the cost of administrating the whole operation, then the closing coordinator, the offices, and separate the marketing. So subtract all those expenses from the $3 million, the margins are very, very, very small. And unless you're an incredible operator, it's very difficult to make a profit. I see those numbers in a weekly basis from brokers, from team leaders that are struggling because it's very difficult. And Dan said, 2-3 degree of differentiation there, and you're in the negative. It's very, very, very risky. But not to mention the amount of effort and emotional waste you go managing large teams. The drama of those teams is humongous. So to me, and again, anybody can do whatever they want, but to me, it's just not worth it. The risk is too high, the emotional up and down is too great, and the profits are not that large.
So it's always been that way too. But back before you could buy leads, back before Zillow started selling leads in 2000, 2008, you actually could make good money on the buyer sides of the transactions. Like when Gary originally wrote his book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which people still use to this day, which is fine. That was way before the proliferation of the marketing, the branding, and the buying of the leads, and commissions were higher. Okay. Sale prices were lower, but commissions were higher, and all these other things weren't there for you to waste your money on. And he based all his stuff on Howard Brinton, which Howard Brinton had been teaching. Anyway, long story short.
But imagine real quick, Tim, let's say you make $3 million first you got to get to $100 million in sales, right?
Yeah.
So you get $3 million in commission, assuming you're getting 3%. That's $3 million. Now, half of it, it's going to go to your agent and split. So now you're at 1.5 million. Then
you're talking 3 million. That's the actual commission income into the team, not the net. The net off the 3 million is
you're not even talking net yet.
The net off that's going to be maybe 10% if you're lucky.
Maybe. So, but understand the expenses behind it, right? Just in splits, now you're half 1.5 million. Now you got to pay for the office, you got to pay for the leads, you got to pay for marketing, which is separate, and then you got to pay for administration. It's a lot. Well, how much are you left with?
Well, so Casey, this has been something that you and I've talked about for a while. You are in your formidable years of deciding how to form a team. You've got your head really well screwed on as far as like trying to, it's a tug of war. I get the sense when I speak with you, net profit, buying assets, becoming, rich where my money is working for me. I no longer have to work for my money. And then all the expenses of trying to form a team. So what are you thinking about this topic?
Did you see the screenshot I sent you?
I did. It's in chat though, so they can't see it.
What do you think of that?
Uh,
I just snipped it. That's from my EXP portal for my team, just from January to now.
Dan, do you want to help me out here? And Dan's going to be like, he's using his big brain right now to figure it out. Do you guys hear the ding, 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 ding?
The gears are moving.
I can't.
I can share it maybe. Hold on.
Told you. You never want to be on a Zoom without a Lesniak. The Lesniak is your solve it all. All right, so go ahead, Casey.
You let me share. You don't let me share. I have to request. You have to approve me.
You're approved.
Doesn't let.
Okay.
So Casey, he's going to put it.
He's my EXP portal. Sorry, go ahead.
He's going to put it on the screen, I think, and then you can explain what's on
There
the
it is.
There you go.
101 units.
So my team right now, just from January 1 to now, they're at 101 units, 18 pending, 26.5 million. And the team split on the side, I can't see it really because how my Zoom is, but the profit on the side is 145,000.
That's right.
Team lead split. So
team lead.
So that's not the total. That's the net to you after paying the team members, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and keep in mind my overhead. My team is very different. I think both of you would probably like beat me in the head for how I'm doing my structure because I know I'm leaving money on the table. I could be making so much more money. And for me, I'm kind of playing the long game. I came from a very different background of not feeling like I had autonomy in my brand. Kind of felt like every time I posted a video, oh, you can't say this, you can't do that. You can't post that and dance around and showcase this and whatever. And I was just kind of tired of it. And then I wasn't getting fed anything. I wasn't getting leads. I wasn't getting anything out of it. And I didn't even have a desk to go sit at for the office that I was a part of. And so for me, I kind of went on a mission and I've had trial and error too, but my mission was very different than a standard team lead. I'm not saying it's the right way or the wrong way. And we are all very different. We don't do anything the same when it comes to our structure, but everyone's on an 80-20 split. We have a smaller cap. And essentially, having over 100 agents and we're on enterprise, I teach all my agents how to fish themselves rather than waiting to eat out of the palm of my hand. And I also give them the opportunity to, co-list with me. Every deal that I have personally, I co-list with an agent. I bring them along. I teach them the ropes, not saying it's the right one, but essentially, for me, I think my large team is profitable. And I think I could certainly be making more money. But again, I think I'm going to be even more profitable because the long game is I'm still in production right now, but look at the numbers that you see there.
Can I ask you questions? Okay. And so the 145,000 that you showed that you've made in the first quarter, that's just from this year, which is great, but that's before your business expenses, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And my commercial space I spend out of my own production.
Sure.
I don't charge a desk fee or office fee, so it's 78,000 a year just to have my space.
Okay, so that 145 didn't include business expenses, didn't include personal expenses, but it also the commissions you make off your listings, and you're a killer listing agent. Those aren't reflected in that 145 either. Dan, is that correct?
No,
Correct.
I think the 145 is everything that was paid to Casey, right? Not the team.
Yeah.
So
That's not including mine. So for me, I can actually go to my personal. Hold on. I don't know why I won't let me.
Casey, mad props for showing these numbers, girl. I'm super impressed, to be honest with you, because right now listen, seriously, you're doing something now that people never do because they just want to lie. They want to basically continue to perpetuate the story about, which causes a lot of agents to suffer needlessly. And I think everyone here who's been in this industry for as long as we all have are very impressed with the fact that you're so honest right now. I mean, does everyone feel the same way as I do?
Yes, transparency.
I thought you guys were gonna beat me up on
No way. No way.
my-
I've had
No, but
Casey.
you're proving the point though, Casey. Number one, not every team is run the same way. Number two, you actually know your numbers. You're pulling something up that's very granular and detailed. And number three, you're being very honest about what the situation is. So yeah, kudos to you.
Yep.
Well, and the really encouraging thing for me is just I like to see growth and I like to see how I've done just from the last 3 years, right? And August will be year 4, right? So for me, I'm gonna try to send you another snipping, Dan. So do your Dan Lesniak thing. But the growth from last year to this year, just for me, this isn't my team. Not only did I capped within 2 weeks of my cap reset, which I'm on a 16K cap, but my team has a 10K cap. Um, but these numbers right here that I'm about to show you are mind-blowing. So, since okay, I've sold 49 units just by myself so far from January
Okay,
1 through
let me ask so we can define these. 49 listings by yourself, or some of those were buyer sides as well?
some of those are buyer sides as well.
Okay.
Um, volume is at almost 18.1 million. And this is where I'm just obsessed with seeing the growth of the chart. So I'm gonna pop this in the chat. Hold on. I'm used to my Lenovo, so I hate Macs.
So you guys don't have to listen as we're all trying to show you a screenshot for those watching on YouTube. I'll suggest this for all of you listening. It's really, really important that you don't mix your numbers between seller side and buyer side. Otherwise, you're never really know where your profit comes from. And it's very easy to run a very non-profitable, a profit-free business, really. So if we were to have a conversation and you're building a team and you're wondering why you're not moving the ball down the field further and faster on your personal financial side, what the first thing we would do is we'd split it between buyer side and a seller side, completely split the spreadsheets, completely split the P&L. And then what you'd find inevitably is the buyer side transactions that you're doing are almost very, very low profit, if not negative. And all your profits coming from the list side, or like Lesniak said, where it's coming from the ancillary services provided. But I'm going to read the tea leaves for Casey. What she's going to do is, because she's so compelling at forming a team and people love being associated with her, she's going to end up making more money from revenue share at EXP within the next probably 2 or 3 years, net profit wise.
Look at this.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go.
Yeah, and I already iconed. I iconed within 1 month of my cap reset at EXP. So I've now iconed twice out of the first year I came in kind of late in the year. But
Dan, can you explain what they're saying for the people that are just listening?
Yeah, so this is month by month compared to like last year. So if you look at January, that light blue bar, it looks like it's at maybe two deals. This January, so that was a year ago. This January it was like 11. And then look at, you see the same thing with February and March, just massive. We're talking like a 7x in those first 3 months of the year.
So when I say I'm missing a podcast, it's because I'm doing this.
Fair enough.
So forgive me, but I do think and I do have to go shortly because I actually have to run to a listing. We're about to launch a 6.7 listing. But I think this is encouraging because for the team leaders out there that, like me, I wanted to do something different in my heart. I wanted to be generous. I wanted to have a low turnover rate with my agents, and I wanted them to believe in the brand that I've built, stay, but not feel like I'm ripping their paychecks out of their hand. So like I'm playing a long game. Sure, it's going to be slower than most team leaders, and I'm sure I could be making a lot more money. But at the end of the day, like I do feel like my people trust me. They're happy. They can't see any other way of how, they would make it work, and they're making more money than they ever have in any of their careers.
Yep.
Well, this may be the most profitable way to really run a team right now, because compared to most teams that are having to like generate and pay for a lot of leads to hand to their agents on this 50-50 split, your overhead is probably a fraction of what those teams are. And then by still being in production, you're making some money off the team, really 10xing it with your own production. And at the same time, you've built this amazing ecosystem that's gonna build the rev share and the long game. So it's kind of an interesting new and probably better model than a lot.
Collaboration is so contagious in here. And I will say this, I don't hire everybody. You guys are going to totally be like frowning on that because of rev share and recruiting. But I forget who it was in our upline that said you recruit everybody, but I don't like to. I'm very picky. I think the people in between your walls and out running around with your logo on their signs and your brand and who you are, I think is something that you should really be careful of. And so I'm slow to hire because everybody can market any of our sales and listings and like take advantage of it and use that to build their own business. So I feel like that's what's helped us and has, kept us successful.
Chris, what are you thinking? I know you got to jump.
Yeah, I think the key is what Julie said. There's if you look at 100 teams, you're going to see 100 different ways that they're set up and everything else. The most important thing is that the structure allows for stability and longevity, right? And opportunities. Right? You have to have a structure that allows you to be profitable, allows you to grow, at the same time create opportunities so that people on your team can get all their needs and all their goals and all their desires met on the team. They don't have to leave to go do that. And it's a fine line, but you have to pay attention to it. You have to analyze it and study it and make sure. Otherwise, you'll wake up one day going, "Wait, what happened?"
I think that is a fantastic place for us to round the bend on this week's Powerhouse Talk. We are going to get to a segment that we didn't discuss today, next week, maybe one of our first segments, guys. So make sure you're ready. And the question will be, what are the 3 things you can be doing now to have an immediate positive impact on your mindset, your mood, and your money? So we're going to be covering that in addition to all the normal topics. So thank you for continuing to be such rabid supporters of Powerhouse Talk. We're obviously having a lot of fun doing it. When you're ready to move up in your real estate brokerage experience, we strongly encourage you to allow us to apply for the job of being your eXp Realty sponsor. The links are down below if you want to learn more about our overall Libertas group, which means freedom in Latin. If you're ready to join and you're looking to land the plane, you found the place, you found the clear runway, you can text one of us directly, have a conversation, and then guys, let's move together because as everyone has said, your environment matters the most and who you hang out with in your head and physically, it's going to be the absolute clearest determinant of what your future is going to be like now more than ever. So have a fantastic day and you guys have a blessed week and we'll see everyone on the show next week. Thanks.
Mic drop, Tim. That was killer.
Well, Casey, seriously, I haven't ended the meeting yet, but I'm really impressed with how transparent you are with sharing your numbers. That was something that never happens at any real estate seminars. Well, it's because people don't want to be embarrassed because they want to be able to tell stories that aren't necessarily true. Ego, why? That's why.
You can tell by how they talk. When you ask how they're doing, they say, I'm on track for,
Yeah.
or I'm shooting for. There's not a lot of there, because anybody can say that.
And they say other things too. They'll say like, you'll ask them about lead sources and they always come up with the most complicated analytical freaking 14-stage funnel answer. But the truth is their lead sources primarily come from centers of influence and past clients, but it's not sexy or compelling to say that, but it is the truth. And you see that continuously. The way you know if you're dealing with a true professional and an honest person in our industry is when you ask them the question, what's your primary lead source? And they've been in the business for a while. If they don't say centers of influence and past clients, they're either lying intentionally or they're terrible business people because statistically, like 90% of all your deals after 5 years comes from centers of influence and past clients. And so if you haven't worked that list, because you've been buying all of your leads, that means your customers maybe haven't really had the greatest vibe with you, or maybe you've just never learned how to run an efficient business. So, but I honestly, Casey, I'm impressed.
Well done.
Yeah, well done.
Well, I didn't want to say this on the podcast,
We're
but
still recording.
all I'm going to say is I can't say addresses, but I have right now there's 4 pending that I'm about to put into the MLS, and they all wanted to do off market, right? And I convinced them, I asked for their blessing to please let me put in the MLS because I want my reps. Like I know it doesn't matter because you're making the money, but like I care about the reps, I care about the numbers, I care about the, the competition. And they all agreed. So I'm going through some modifications on our contracts to make sure that we're compliant with uploading it. But all of those numbers are about to jump me. That it's over close to 10 million that's going to show. So I just thought that was really exciting and
It is.
encouraging.
Share that
Yeah,
for next week.
congrats.
Casey, you're doing fantastic. Congratulations.
You are.
By
Keep
the
it up.
way, when it comes to recruiting to your team and sponsoring people are different things. So what you said about recruiting to your team makes perfect sense. But sponsoring overall, if someone's listening right now and they're in Alaska and they want to be sponsored by the great and powerful Casey Anderson, obviously they're not wanting to be part of your team. They're wanting to be part of your group at EXP. And to that, you'd always say yes, right?
Of course, because we have a network, right?
Yeah.
And then we have our own personal team. And then I have metro teams, which one of them are in this room, up the East Coast. So yes, for sure.
All right, there it is. Our
Yeah.
unofficial ending to Powerhouse Talk. And don't edit any of that off. It was fun. All right, you guys have a great week. Bye.